Alright, so we've looked at linear equations now, y equals mx plus b, and we've also looked at direct variation, where we've got something where we got x and y varying directly. So we get a relationship where x is doubling, y equals 2x, y equals 3x. That's our direct variance where our y-intercept is 0. Now we're going to look at is how to write the equation of a line in slope-intercept form given the relationship in a table. So now from the table we've got to find our slope, and we've got to find our y-intercept. You can see up here it's telling us that the slope is, the slope is our change in y over our change in x. So that would be the difference between the y's compared to the difference in our x's. And then we can find that, we can make sure that it's consistent by taking a couple pieces and making sure that we've got that relationship going on here. So if I look here to go from -3 to -1, I could see that I am adding 2. So that's my change in y. My change in x then, from -2 to -1, I am adding 1. So I've got a increase of 2 in the y, an increase of 1 in the x. Now, just to double check to make sure that things are consistent, I want to check this relationship here. So from -1 to 1, I'm adding 2 again, which is good. That's what we want to see. From -1 to 0, I'm adding 1. So we can see here, and all of these relationships are going to be about the same. So we've got adding 2 to the y, 1 to the x. So our change in y is a +2. Our change in x is a +1. So our slope we can say is 2 over 1 or 2. Now the second part that we need, because remember we've got y equals mx plus b. So we just found our m, which is 2. Now I've got to find my b, which is my y-intercept. And the great thing about the y-intercept is we can find the y-intercept by finding what y is when x equals 0. So if I look in my table, this makes it really easy. Here I can see that when x is 0, y is +1. So I can say that my y-intercept is going to be equal to +1. And if I want to write out my equation now, I've got y equals mx plus b, so m was 2. I still have my x in there, and it's a +1. It's our plus sign here. So y equals 2x plus 1. So that's not overly complicated. We can figure that out pretty easily. If we look at another example, remember we've got to find our slope first. If we want to find our slope, okay, get my pencil out. So we want to go, our slope is going to be equal to the change in y, is how we're going to write this. So that's like a triangle. It's called delta, is the change in y divided by the change in x. So our change in y and our change in x. So if we look at our table here, I've got a change in y here of -0.5. I've got a change in x here of a +1. I can see same thing for this. Change of -0.5, +1. -0.5, +1. -0.5, +1. So I can say that my change in y is going to be -0.5. My change in x is going to be 1. So my slope is -0.5 divided by 1, or just -0.5, or 1/2 negative 1/2. My y-intercept now, again, this is an easier one. It's listed right here for us. We find where x equals 0 and find what the y is. In this case, the y is 3. If I want to write my equation, I've got y equals, my m is negative 0.5, and my b is 3. I got y equals 0.5 plus 3. So it's pretty simple with our tables. When we do have our linear relationships, we can just find what the change is, and we can find what y is when x equals 0. Now sometimes, and here is one situation where that happens, sometimes 0 is not listed in our table. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We do not have a 0 listed here, which is okay. We'll do the same thing. Let's find the slope. From here to here, I've got a plus 4. My x's are all increasing by 1. So I know it's going to be 4 over 1. Got an increase of 4, got an increase of 4. So my slope is going to be 4 over 1, which we're just going to call 4. Now, if we plug that in, so I plug that in, I have y equals 4x plus b. Right? That's my general equation right now. I've got to find b, but it's not listed over here. If you want, you could work backwards and you could subtract 4 here, and you can find it that way, but we're going to use the substitution method here to find it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose an ordered pair. I'm going to choose 1, 11. So I'm going to choose 1, 11 for the ordered pair I'm going to work with. I'm going to plug in 11 for y, and I'm going to, oops, it looks like an x, for y, and I'm going to plug in 1 for x. And I'm going to plug it into this equation here. So I'm going to have 11 equals 4 times x, which is 1, plus sign, plus b. Now I've just got to solve this equation. Work backwards to get b alone. So I'll have 11 equals 4 plus b. To get that b alone, I've got to subtract 4, and I'll find that b is equal to 7. Like I said, we could have worked backwards here, taken 11, subtracted 4, and we're given us 7. Either way, we're going to get that our equation is y equals 4x plus 7.